history is hugely important to this community. Beginning with a Paleo-Indian site about 10,000 years ago, we have a lot of Civil War history, Civil Rights history, Native American history, Trail of Tears history, early railroading history. This city is very much attuned to its history. Preservation is hugely important to us because of our architectural history. We have just shy of 1,000 buildings on the National Register of Historic Places, including about 100 square blocks of historic homes that are on the National Register, and both of our downtowns are on the National Register of Historic Places as well.
We thought this was such a significant location and a significant building on the corner of Church and Bank Street that, man, we wanted to make it something special.
That building has been used for many, many purposes, always had a commercial side to it, but that is one of the anchor buildings of the Old Decatur downtown. It's very important architecturally because it is at the corner of Bank Street and Church Street, which are the two main streets of the Old Decatur downtown. So this is a very highly viewable building. The architecture definitely is outstanding, and we're just delighted that building is being preserved and is being enhanced for future generations.
We took a building that was over 125 years old, and we have restored that, or in the process of restoring that building, and we've added about 3,000 square feet on the backside with 3 levels. Basically modernizing the building, making it functional for our future tenants.
We try to strike a balance on the historic preservation and the viable economic development of it. We like to see a development like this that's going to bring in office space. And the office space, they've got businesses in there, they've got employees. Those employees are going to be there during the day. They're going to go out, they're going to shop at the end of the day, they're going to go out and eat lunch.
You know, when they built this, they built it a brick at a time, didn't have the nice fancy equipment that we have now. I mean, the wood is as old as the building and old heart pine floors that we're going to restore, but one of the things we wanted to do is repurpose the things that we did take out. We wanted to try to reuse, repurpose. So we're able to do that through some of the ceiling. All the ceilings were heart pine. We're going to put in intricate areas, we're going to put them back in place as they were.
It's very important to have an architect who is sensitive to the history, the architecture, the original architecture of the building. He knows the principles of preservation, which I personally subscribe to, which is that we need to have an economic purpose for buildings in order for them to be properly preserved. We need to try to preserve as much of the old history as we possibly can, but we also understand that with new building codes and new needs for buildings that accommodations have to be made.
So everything you see up here is original, but there were no codes governing it. So when we looked at it, it had sagged 3 or 4 inches, the floor had sagged, there was a lot of just retrofit stuff, things were cut. You know, there was a lot of discovery that had to happen. And so the structural engineer, John Powell, and myself and Brent really took probably 3 months just figuring out how to support this thing. So we had to do 2 things at once. We had to design what was needed, and we had to support what was here. So we're actually supporting the entire old building with the new building. So seismically, you know, we have a big earthquake and there's no interior walls here. This building falls down. It's just brick. So we put, the new building is all out of concrete, and we used it to support the entire brick building and then filled everything up with wood. So now it's going to take a much bigger earthquake to knock it down.
So we've got the energy efficiency in the lighting, the LED lighting. We've got energy efficient and new units, all new units going in the building. With our Duro-Last membrane, we know the solar reflectivity index is the best in the market, okay? So before the sun ever gets to the building, it reflects from the building because of the white membrane. We're going on top of an existing EPDM roof, which is black. So we're putting Duro-Last custom fab that will achieve energy efficiency in itself and adding the insulation value that we talked about.
If you're talking about an EPDM roof or a modified bit roof, those two roofing systems will have, on a hot summer day, 98-degree day, the roof itself might be 135 degrees. And that heat is going to transfer below. On a Duro-Last roof, with the reflectivity that you have, the roof itself is only going to be within 2 degrees of the outside temperature, so it's never going to get over 105 degrees. So that in itself allows for the heat to not transfer below, and that's another great thing about Duro-Last.
Even the custom curbing, we've got 6 curves on the roof, and so the ability for us to measure that opening, send Duro-Last the measurements of what they can build in the factory, they'll send it out. It will take us a fraction of the time to get that dried in than it would if we had to make that up ourselves.
If I was an owner of a building and I knew that my roof was going to be done in 2 days versus 2 weeks, that would really appeal to me, because it's going to rain in 2 weeks in Alabama.
I'm a firm believer that history began yesterday. So if this building stands and is useful for another 100 years, it's going to have a history that dates back probably to the 1880s, possibly even the late 1870s. And that history is going to continue, and new history is being made in that building even as we speak today, even as it is being restored. That is a part of the history and the fabric of that building as well, the restoration process. So 100 years from now, we're going to be able to look back and say that there's not a break in that history. In fact, there is a continuation of that history from the time this building was built until the present is all part of the history of this building.